For centuries, people feared monsters that breathed fire, flew with wings as wide as houses, or slithered from the sea with eyes like lanterns. These stories weren't just born from imagination. They often grew from fossils, sightings, and misunderstood creatures. As science advanced, it uncovered the real animals hiding behind some of our oldest legends. But once you see how close the myths came to truth, you may start to wonder what else we've mistaken for fantasy. The oarfish is a deep-sea stranger, unlike any other fish. Its body is long, flat, and silvery, like a ribbon drifting in dark waters. A red crest runs along its back, and its tail flutters like a flag. Normally, it lives far below ships, gliding in open ocean depths beyond 200 meters. Biologists think it feeds on tiny crustaceans, jellyfish, and plankton, sweeping food into its toothless mouth as it swims. Every few years, an oarfish drifts ashore, tangled in seaweed or half alive on a beach. These strandings surprise coastal communities and spark old sailor stories of sea serpents rising from the depths. Witnesses describe a great snake-like animal, sometimes 10 times longer than a man, writhing and gasping on the sand. Before we knew the oarfish, such scenes seemed proof of monsters. Historic journals from the 1700s record mariners spotting long, glistening beasts slicing through waves. One captain sketched a ribboned form with a crest, noting its size at over 6 meters. Reports like these circled ports and taverns, growing wilder with each retelling. Fishermen swore the creature could coil around small boats, dragging them under. Anatomy and habitat matter. Oarfish are pelagic, open water dwellers that rarely near coastlines. Their muscle are soft, their bones fragile, so they cannot fight strong currents. Strong storms or sickness may force them upward, where they tire and strand. Modern deep-sea cameras have glimpsed young oarfish near the surface, but adults remain mostly unseen. Science turned myth to fact when researchers matched strandings to known specimens. DNA tests and skeleton analyses showed these beasts were no dragon, but Regalicus glesni, the world's longest bony fish. Museums now display dried oarfish up to 8 meters long, their true form even more bizarre than the legends. On the Great Plains, old stories speak of thunderbirds, huge birds whose wings stirred storms and lit the sky with lightning. The Lakota, Cheyenne, and Crow passed down stories of sky spirits as wide as wagons. These birds lived in mountain caves and soared above thunderheads, hunting giant fish or great buffalo. Archaeologists later uncovered fossil clues in badlands across Montana and South Dakota. Long bones and wing fragments belonged not to birds, but to pterosaurs, flying reptiles from the time of dinosaurs. One fossil wing from Quetzalcoatlus northropii hints at a wingspan up to 10 meters. Nomadic hunters likely stumbled on scattered bones and took them as signs of mighty sky beasts. In rock art, Cheyenne paintings show a broad-winged creature with hooked beak and long tail, features matching a pterosaur more than an eagle. Crow beadwork echoes this form too, with stylized wings and reptile-like crests. These works suggest that tribes preserved the image of a great flyer for centuries. Comparative anatomy helps link myth and fossil. Pterosaur bones are hollow like birds, built for gliding on air currents. Their shoulder joints gave wide strokes and effortless soaring. When tribes saw large wing bones in sandstone, they pieced together stories of thunderbirds, creatures born of storm. Paleontologists confirm that the last pterosaurs vanished around 66 million years ago. Yet their bones survived in dry riverbeds and caves, waiting to be uncovered. In the 1970s, digs in the Hell Creek Formation turned up giant pterosaur fragments, reminding us these sky kings once ruled overhead. Bridging myth and science, researchers now talk of cultural fossils, stories grounded in ancient finds before formal paleontology began. Thunderbird legends may preserve the memory of lost giants passed from mouth to mouth until written records began. Picture a creature with a soft, furred body, webbed feet, a broad, duck-like bill, and a venomous spur on its hind leg. This odd mix is the platypus, found in rivers of eastern Australia and Tasmania. At dawn, it paddles under willow roots, feeling for insect larvae, shrimp, and worms, with electric sensors in its bill. When British naturalists first saw platypus skins in the late 1700s, they thought someone had sewn together a hoax. A skull from the new colony reached London in 1799, and learned men declared it an assembled curiosity. Only when live animals arrived in the early 1800s did science bow to reality. The platypus is more than weird looks. It lays eggs like a reptile but feeds its young with milk. Its fur is dense and waterproof, keeping it warm in cold streams. Nocturnal by habit, it dives for up to 2 minutes at a time, closing its eyes and ears to rely on bill sensors. Aboriginal creation stories speak of a water snake woman and a furry beaver man whose union birthed the platypus. To them, this creature was a bridge between worlds, land, river, and spirit. When European papers called it the monster duck, townsfolk wrote letters of disbelief to London. Modern studies reveal even more surprises. Male platypuses use their venomous spur against rivals during mating season. The female builds burrows in riverbanks to protect her eggs and hatchlings. Genetic work shows the platypus genome blends features of mammals, birds, and reptiles. Truly a living puzzle. In medieval Provence, villagers feared a beast called the Tarasque that lived in the Rhône River. Described as a fire-breathing dragon with a thick shell, 6 legs, and a scaly tail, it terrorized farms and overturned carts along riverbanks. Crops wilted at its approach, and wells ran dry from its foul breath. Local lore says Saint Martha arrived from the Holy Land and faced the Tarasque alone. She sang hymns that soothed its rage, then bound it with her veil. The creature followed her into town, gentle as a lamb, and was led to a feast rather than a fight. The grateful people spared its life, and the Tarasque lived peacefully in the Rhône until it slipped away one night. But where did the legend come from? Natural history offers a clue. Nile crocodiles once featured in Roman aquaria across southern Gaul. A captive croc could grow to 4 meters, and its armored scales and low-slung body fit dragon stories. Artists, lacking real sketches, added extra legs and fiery breath to heighten the terror. Tarasque images in medieval carvings show 6 stout limbs, 4 for walking, 2 for grasping, and a row of spikes along its back. Its shell-like hide echoes crocodilian osteoderms, the bony plates under a croc's skin. These treasured specimens in Roman collections likely inspired stories when they escaped or died, leaving their bodies to rot by rivers. By the Renaissance, naturalists placed crocodiles and dragons side by side in bestiaries. The Tarasque moved from fearful beast to heraldic symbol of Provence, appearing on shields, tapestries, and festival banners. Museums now hold fossil croc skins and models that match parts of the Tarasque legend. Today, the Tarasque lives on in annual festivals at Tarascon, where a papier-mâché dragon parades through streets. Children dance around its head, never fearing the beast Martha tamed long ago. This story shows how a real animal, a long-lost crocodile in France, grew into a dragon of myth, then back into history through careful study of bones, art, and legend. Legends say the basilisk began life in a strange way, a rooster's egg buried in a toad's nest. From this cursed egg hatched a creature half snake, half rooster, small but deadly. Medieval writers warned that its gaze could kill a man or wither plants. Its breath was said to burn fields, and its hiss alone could stop a heart. In truth, real snakes inspired these fears. The Egyptian cobra and the king cobra both rear up, spread hoods, and deliver venom potent enough to kill. Their threatening posture and sudden strikes likely fueled stories of a stare that brought death. Yet no snake, however fierce, can kill by look alone. Old folktales claimed that people once found basilisk eggs tucked inside cocks' nests. Farmers were taught to search for roosters with oddly light eggs, lest a basilisk slip into the world. Once found, the egg had to be smashed on a hillside at dawn, when the sun's first rays would burn the beast inside. This ritual drained fear into ritual and gave people a way to feel they could fight the monster. Over time, the basilisk became more than a story. It appeared on shields and coats of arms, a symbol of deadly strength and invincibility. Alchemists spoke of the king of serpents as a force of transformation, its venom and gaze echoing themes of life, death and magic in their strange texts. Science finally dispelled the myth. Naturalists observed cobra behavior up close and tested the idea of a deadly glare. When a mirror was held before a raised cobra, it struck at its reflection but caused no harm. Venom analysis showed poisons work only when injected, not by sight. Today, no one fears a snake will burn them with a look. Yet the basilisk lives on, in medieval manuscripts, fantasy books, and the logos of sports teams. It stands as a reminder that real animals can spark our wildest fears, and that even the deadliest legends have roots in nature. In every bristling hood and venomous fang, we glimpse the sparks that once gave rise to the king of serpents. In the wide sands of Wyoming, old-timers swap stories of horned rabbits bounding across sagebrush. The jackalope, they say, has the body of a hare and sharp antlers like a young buck. Cowboys claimed that on quiet moonlit nights, jackalopes would sit upright, antlers silhouetted against the sky as they surveyed the prairie. It turns out, nature played a trick. In the 1930s, a virus known as shop papillomavirus infected wild rabbits in the Midwest. The virus causes bony tumors that look like small horns growing from the rabbit's skull. To a surprised settler, a rabbit with keratin protrusions could look like a tiny deer. As infected rabbits appeared, stories of horned hares spread. Then came a man named Douglas Herrick, a Wyoming taxidermist. In 1932, a friend brought him a rabbit with horn-like growths and asked for a mount. Herrick and his brother removed pronghorn horns from deer and grafted them onto rabbit skulls. The result was the first jackalope mount. Visitors loved it, and soon Herrick brothers were crafting jackalopes on demand. Postcards and bar signs sold the idea far and wide. Folklore goes deeper still. The Huichol people of Mexico tell of tiny horned deer rabbits that live in desert shadows. Their art shows small creatures with split antlers and pointed ears, strikingly like a jackalope. Perhaps these stories mixed with ranch stories to produce the modern legend. Today, jackalopes are as real as a museum's plastic trove. Tourist shops in Douglas offer tins of live jackalope hair and faux antlers for photo ops. Bars host jackalope hunts with Pepsis and tall yarns, and towns hold festivals where locals dress in rabbit suits with horns. The jackalope even has its own hunting season, December 31st, when hunters may legally shoot one, though only with a shotgun loaded with baby carrots. High in the snows of the Himalaya, locals tell of a creature they call the Migoi, or Chemo, an ape-like wild man with shaggy fur and enormous footprints. Sherpas and Tibetans have told of giant prints, sometimes 30 centimeters long, that vanish at steep ice walls. They say the Yeti moves through hidden valleys, avoiding humans but leaving clues in fresh powder. Western explorers first heard of Yeti tracks in the 1920s. A British Everest expedition reported strange, human-like footprints at altitudes above 5,000 meters. In 1951, mountaineer Eric Shipton snapped a photo of an odd track on the Menlung Glacier. The image spread in newspapers and books, fueling dreams of a living legend. Scientists soon proposed a simpler answer: bears. The Himalayan brown bear and Tibetan blue bear cross high passes in spring, their back feet sometimes overlapping the front, creating a single deep imprint. Melting and refreezing snow can stretch and distort these marks into long, human-like prints. Fur caught on branches and tufts of hair at campsites matched bear styles more than a mysterious ape. In recent years, researchers gathered hair samples and bone fragments from supposed Yeti sites. DNA analysis showed matches to local bear species, and in one case, to a dog hybrid. No unknown primate DNA emerged. While this failed to satisfy every believer, it pointed sharply away from a giant ape. Yet the idea of the Yeti endures. Stories say it stands 2 meters tall, with a low, guttural roar that echoes through valleys. Some Sherpas still leave offerings, sugar, eggs, or tobacco, to placate the spirit of the mountain man. Tea houses in Nepal sell Yeti-themed souvenirs, and adventure tours promise a chance to see elusive hair or footprints. The Yeti reminds us how wilderness and weather shape myth. In the silent snowscape, every echo and footprint can seem supernatural. Whether bear or yeti, those tracks speak of a wild world still holding secrets. And high on Everest, when the wind howls through crevasses, it's easy to imagine a great figure slipping by, half spirit, half beast, ever watchful in the cold. In the 16th century, broadsheets and woodcuts showed a strange captive, a creature half fish, half man, with an old man's face and a fish's body. Newspapers called it the sea monk, a bishop of the deep caught off the coast of Europe. The image graced church fairs and taverns alike, thrilling readers with talk of merfolk priests. The real story lies with monkfish, big, odd-looking anglerfish known today as lophius. When caught and dried, these fish fold their fins close to the body. The arched dorsal fin forms a hood. The pectoral fins hang like sleeves, and their broad, pale head appears crowned by a fin that looks like a mitre. Little wonder a dry, stiff fish could pass for a submerged abbot. Travelers and showmen displayed these dried sea monks at fairs, charging coins to glimpse the relic. Word spread that pious creatures swam offshore, enforcing divine law on sailors. Some clergy even preached about the sea monk as proof that God's mercy extended to all corners of creation. Artists embellished the story. In a famous woodcut, the sea monk holds a staff and wears a long beard, blending fish scales with monastic robes. Viewers, unused to dried marine specimens, filled in gaps with their own hopes and fears, seeing a holy fishman descended from biblical stories. Later, naturalists studied the specimens and matched them to monkfish. Anatomy lessons showed gill openings and spines that no human could possess. Ichthyologists classified them among anglerfish, noting how the lure on their heads attracts prey on muddy sea floors. Once explained, the sea monk returned to its rightful place, a bottom-dwelling fish that looks eerie when dried. On remote Timor and nearby islands, old stories spoke of Varian, a giant lizard that roamed lonely shores. Islanders told of great beasts, 10 feet long or more, that basked in sunlit mangroves and breathed fire when hunters drew near. They carved legends of burning eyes and claws gouging boats, stories told beside cooking fires under starry skies. In the 1960s, paleontologists digging in Timor's limestone beds found fossil bones of ancient varanids, relatives of today's monitor lizards. The brim of a hip socket here, a piece of jaw there, formed a picture of lizards reaching 4 meters long nearly 1 million years ago. These fossils showed that giant lizards once thrived across the Indonesian archipelago long before humans arrived. Soon after, in 1910, Western scientists first recorded living dragons on Komodo and Rinca. Komodo dragons grow to 3 meters with thick hides, serrated teeth, and deadly saliva. They hunt deer, water buffalo, and birds, ambushing with low belly runs and powerful claws. Local villagers call them ora, and still whisper of young dragons that flare their throat pouches and hiss like distant thunder. Island belief blends fossil echo and living beast into one story. Many elders say that Komodo dragons are Varian's last kin, survivors of an age when lizards ruled land and sea. They point to the dragon's ability to eat rotten meat, swim between islands, and slip silently into human camps at night. In some villages, elders leave offerings of fish so that the fire lizard will spare their flocks. Today, biologists monitor wild Komodos by radio collar and foot patrol. They map breeding caves, track growth rates, and tag hatchlings with tiny chips. Genetic studies compare Komodo DNA to the fossil finds in Timor rock. The results show a shared lineage. Modern dragons separated from ancient cousins only a few 100,000 years ago, long after giant varanids first appeared. In zoos around the world, Komodos draw crowds as living dragons. But on home isles, they remain powerful symbols of an ancient world. Their fossils remind us that Earth once hosted lizards far larger, and their living bodies show how myth and memory can survive in scales and genes. The sea dragon of legend, it turns out, is neither ghost nor ghost story, but a real line from past to present, still breathing heat beneath the tropical sun. From oarfish in dark waters to dragons on dusty isles, these 9 creatures prove legends often spring from real life. Fossils, field notes, and DNA ties help science untangle myth from fact, yet wonder endures. What hidden beast will surface next?
Artlist.io.
Tell us which story amazed you most, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell for more journeys where ancient stories and modern science meet.